Well, howdy, friends and neighbors. Hope you're doing well. It is a chance to celebrate a win. So, welcome to the Q&A session for this week. Just before the team goes on the bye, I think we're getting ready to have a decent week off. I think the team needs it, to tell you the truth. We're going to go through all kinds of stuff about this team and about where they're at, what happened in that particular game, and what you guys want to know. Just want to say hello to everybody. See a lot of friendly faces in here. What's up, Norman? Justin, Jack, Gary, EB. How are you guys? Lot going on. I haven't heard a whole ton. I know they got home pretty late this morning. I want to say it was like 6 a.m. So I haven't had much of an update yet today. So when I know more, you guys will know more. And the video schedule will be kind of slanted this week towards the back end of the week. I have some stuff cooking for you during the bye week as well. I'm going to do a power rankings for the whole NFL. I'm going to do a couple of things that I've been tracking for the defense all year. And I'm starting to unveil that too. So you can find that. The podcast is roaring, so check that out as well. For those of you that are joining me tonight, cheers. It's another homebrew evening for me. Little Scotch ale of my creation. A little thinner than I like, so the next batch is going to be a little bit bigger. So, big takeaway, and the reason that I put Frank in the thumbnail is that this was finally what you've been waiting for. This is what the Chiefs brought Frank Clark in to do. This is what the Chiefs brought in Tyrann Mathieu to do. And I know there's been not enough really made about the fact that a pinched nerve in a neck can really affect all kinds of stuff for you. Had different versions of the report that Frank Clark had burning sensation down his forearms into his fingers, couldn't feel the bottom two fingers. And usually that's a nerve that's specific to, can be pinched up here in the shoulder, it can be pinched in the elbow, and it's specific to the bottom half that really affects those bottom two fingers. It's difficult to grip that way. It's very difficult to play a full game that way as well. So maybe we're starting to see that Frank Clark is getting closer to what we all expected him to be health-wise, and that will help him in producing like we expected him to as well. So that said, for all of you that are new to the chat, and there's more people joining all the time, I know it's a little bit different. I usually do this on Monday night. We just go Q&A for the whole thing. Tonight, obviously, a little bit different. We'll get back on that. If you are new, make sure you throw some question marks at the beginning of your sentence. It helps me pick it out of the chat, and that way, hopefully, I won't miss anybody. If you want to support the channel like David just did, you can throw a super chat or a super sticker, and that always helps. Everything goes a long way for lights and software and everything that I use to make this stuff, so I appreciate all of that. And with no more ado, let's get to David's question. It's not a question, though. Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. Only on YouTube for sure. Yeah, I can't even run down a field anymore at this point. Age has caught up with me. So I appreciate that, David. And I know you'll come back with a question. I want to make sure you get something. If you do decide to donate to the channel tonight, please ask a question so I make sure to get you something for it right away. But that said, we'll jump right into it. I don't know if we're going to make the whole hour. I'm aiming towards 30-40 minutes because got a night with the wife here and the kids are at practice, so I'm enjoying it. Right off the top, Bill Winter. Why does Andy keep calling single replays on 3rd and short at the end of the games to win the game? Really what it comes down to, the only reason that you would call a single read or even a half field read, which I do think there are a couple of them in there. I can't prove that. I won't know it for certain unless I hear the play call. But the reason that you do it is because you're trying to get the ball out fast. And that is to help the offensive line. I thought Fish was back, but he was under a lot of pressure. He gave up some pressures, I think the most of anyone against the Chargers. But that's the idea, is to get Patrick, drop him back, and get the ball gone as soon as you can. With the athletes that you have, it's a reasonable explanation that by hitting it quick, hitting fast developing routes, that you can just get some body leverage in, not necessarily separation, that by getting the ball out fast, you have a better chance of completing it and not allowing them to adjust. They do have some good athletes in that secondary. So that's why this particular game they did. Some other games, I don't think that you need to do that. There are less pass rushes out there, so you never know. But that's where I think they're coming from at this point. Let's see. Had some scrolling. Want to make sure I get everybody. Thanks, Bill. First question of the night. Dr. Sanitary 43. rabid question asker, whatever it is. I'm the answer. Never mind. Glad you're here. What would the narrative have been had the Chargers gone down and won the game on the last drive? It would have been they were winded. It would have been you had up and down play. I mean, let's not mince words. Dan Sorensen saved his reputation with that last play. He had been getting beaten up in the past game a lot. Dan's good in the box, but again, as I always say, playing deep coverage is tough for him. Playing lateral coverage is tough for him. Plays well in the box, comes up against the run well, does some things. And I think the other way that you can protect him that they don't do enough is they don't let him press. If you're going to put him on a slot receiver, if you're going to put him on tight end, let Dan Sorensen press. Let him be physical because, I mean, he's 6'2" and over 200 pounds. That's an advantage for a DB. That's a matchup that helps negate some of the advantage that the tight ends have on you. And I don't think that they do that enough for him. But that's what I think the narrative would have been. They were certainly winded too. And you guys heard me talk about, personally, I would have taken the team to altitude for practice for the week. I felt like the Chargers looked like they were in better shape at altitude than the Chiefs were. It wasn't dramatic. That offensive line for the Chargers was really hurting that last couple of drives. But just overall, I feel like in general, I still prefer to get that time in at altitude and try to get, maybe it's not as much benefit as you get from 2 or 3 weeks, but you definitely get something. I think the Chargers showed you that on paper, and I know that what the research says. There's a lot of folks that want to argue with me about that on Twitter. Folks, I'm an exercise physiologist and a strength and conditioning coach. This is my bread and butter. So for those of you that have heard on Twitter the opposite, just let me tell you that's not true, and I think it showed up on the telecast last night. That said, that's what I think it would have been had they not come up with a big play. And they came up with a lot of big plays, that defense. They played really complimentary. And that's why, again, why I put on the title, they finally got a complete game. The defense played just as well, if not better than the offense, finally. And that's a tall order for this defense to play up to the level of the offense. So it's not going to happen all the time, but I feel like they did a good job. Michael Schwinghammer, I like that one. What happened with the creative play calls? We heard preseason about added plays. Is Reed sandbagging? A little bit. I think he is. I think he felt like he let some of the things out of the bag a little bit too early last season. I think he was caught off guard by how well Mahomes progressed. And so I think he kind of let some things out of the bag before he could have eventually in holding some of that back. So I think that's important. And maybe we'll see some more stuff. But at the same time, Andy's notorious for doing that and not getting it done in the meantime. The Titans game was a dropped ball all the way around. Not just Spags, it was Andy too. So like you got to take that for a grain of salt as well. It's not a greatest thing for him to do. Okay. Oh, we got another donation. David Price, thank you for your donation. Appreciate it very much. I don't see a question yet, but I'm going to keep scrolling and hope there is one. Michael Uden. Matthew played great, but that missed catch is a lack of focus. Does adds to. I'm not sure what that meant, but yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I think it was just the excitement of, I'm going to get my hands on that, and I'm going to have an ability to take it back a good long way again. So yeah, that's something you don't expect from him. And he did get beat a couple times in coverage. Like I said on the podcast, that's going to happen. But I agree with you. I would have liked to seen a little bit more top flight. You get a ball like that, you should get it in your hands. I think he definitely, obviously, he had it in his hands, but I don't know if it was concentration lapse or just thinking about the end result before he secured the ball. That's a fair point. Nathan Roth, how long could Tyreek's hamstring keep him out? That's a great question, and there's no real clear answer because everybody responds differently. Everybody heals differently. And I said on Twitter today, it's a more significant injury than I originally thought. I'm not trying to say it's a significant injury that it could keep him out a long time or anything like that. I'm saying what I saw on the telecast originally, it looked like cramps to me. The way that he was able to pop up and move, it wasn't like it was seizing and it was tight. He couldn't extend it or curl it or anything like that. But it turns out it was more than it looked like to me on television. I don't think it's a serious injury. I don't think it's long-term. He might be back after the bye week. He might need another week. I expect him to play against the Patriots either way. But that is also part of the altitude preparation. Staying hydrated is really, really hard at altitude. For every 1,000 feet, I think you're supposed to drink an extra like 20 ounces of water a day. And that's significant. And I know what it feels like. I live at almost 10,000 feet here in Colorado. So folks come and visit me and they feel it like quickly. I think that was probably a factor. Tyreek is not somebody that has a lot of soft tissue issues. He hasn't been really reported anything muscularly in his past to any great effect. It's not like he's Sammy and he's got a hamstring issue that is due to alignment. And that's what Sammy's battling. He's got to make sure he keeps his core straight, take some of the pressure off of those hamstrings. I think he's doing the best that he can right now, better than he has so far in his season. I wanted to see more out of Sammy, though, and I will say, not to get sidetracked about that, but Nathan, that's the best answer I can give you. I think it's a week or two. If he doesn't play against the Raiders, I'm not going to be too worried, but they need him against the Patriots. There's David. David, thanks for your donation before. David asks, great win by the defense, ? Yeah, I mean, even Pat Mahomes said that the defense came and saved him. And so I think that's a legitimate statement. They wouldn't have won that game without the defense playing as well as they did. That's just the fact of it. There are times that even Mahomes, if he can't throw to anybody, he can't do much. And for some reason, A, the Chargers play very well. B, the Chargers are in the division. They know the team well. So they have the athletes to run and they know what to do. So that makes it a little bit harder for everybody that isn't Tyreek to really get open. Kelsey did it. I would like to see that there are a few guys that could get open more than, I think it was 7 targets for Watkins and Hardman combined. Hang on, let me check that. I have the game sheet here in front of me, buried underneath another window. Yeah, Watkins and Hardman combined for 4 catches on 7 targets. That's not enough targets, in my opinion, but that's due to the coverage, and that's due to Patrick seeing that there are other things that he can do that are probably more high probability, and so I can't really blame him. Keith Welch, what's your take on the RB situation? I'm pretty pumped. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to blow smoke and tell you guys that Daryl's just as explosive as LaShawn or even Damian. He's not. He's a more old school, grinded out running back, and that's exactly what he did. He ran for 3.4, 3.5 yards a carry. Not spectacular, but he got it done, and he got it done consistently, and he ran hard. If they're both out, and it's reasonable to think that Damian definitely will be because ribs take 4, 5, 6 weeks to heal up. We're going to have to find out whether it's the cartilage or whether it's a bone. The bone will actually heal faster than the cartilage injury will. So when we know more details about that, I'll tell you about Damian. LaShawn's in the concussion protocol. Sometimes that can resolve itself in a week or whatever, 9 days or whatever this is going to be with this bye week. Sometimes it can't. It's going to be more than that, isn't it? It's going to be like 14 days. No, it's going to be 11. I just don't know. But if neither of them can go, if LaShawn and Damian are both sidelined, I'm comfortable starting Daryl. Daryl was in there to begin with before the injuries because he pass protects well, because he can get you some tough yards, and he catches the ball really well. He's a well-rounded back, and he works in this offense. Now, he's not going to be the explosive threat that LaShawn and Damian are, but he's perfectly fine to start a game. And for those of you that have been clamoring, I mean, people went crazy in the preseason about Darwin. And I understand he's got potential. And like I told you then, he's not going to be an impact guy his first year. But this is getting towards the end of his rookie season. You know, he's 11 games in. He's been through the preparation. He hasn't had many reps, so he should be, fresh in the legs. If he's your backup and your third down back, I think it gives you something. I'll have to take a look at the practice squad. I don't remember who else is on there that they might pull up. But there's always free agent running backs that you could bring in for a week or two. So I'm not worried about it. I'm very comfortable with Daryl and Darwin as well. And honestly, if it comes down to what we saw in Pat's first start here in Denver, if you have to give the ball to Sherm, it's going to be 2.5, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but he will grind it out for you. So, you know me, I'd personally love to see Daryl and Sherman be a feature next time they play, not next week, against the Raiders, and just punish them, because that's what they're going to try to do to them. They're going to run Josh Jacobs at them all day long. That's honestly something that the Chargers got away from. They were getting 4.9 yards a carry out of Gordon, and they went away from him. And they just get pass happy, same as Andy does. Next question, Gary Holland. Sorry, guys, I'm falling behind on all the questions here. So let me get Gary's. The kickoff returns and punt returns have been horrible. Is Hardman the right player for the position? He's a player for the position. He's got the upside. He can definitely do it. Got to remember he's a rookie. And sometimes that just doesn't work out. Some of the decision making, I think he's been pushed a little harder to return balls that maybe he wouldn't naturally. I think that's what that conversation was about 2 weeks ago when he and Dave Tober talking on the sidelines. I don't want Tyreek out there every down. There are some other guys. Pringle can return. Robinson can return. I want to say that Ward has. I can't remember. Not in the NFL, but I think he returned some in college. I don't really want to see any of them out there. So I'm comfortable with riding with Hardman as much as he can. If he can get a crease, he's got the speed to take advantage of it. And I think that's going to work out when you average out his returns, more so than trying to put somebody else in there. So, okay, big test. Are you at all concerned about the offense as they've had opportunities to close but end up punting? Yeah, I am. I am concerned about that. And it wasn't as much play call this week. Titans, it was play call. Week before that, it was play call. This week was execution. There was a 3rd and 2 or whatever. There was a simple pass. Darrell was wide open, and Pat just put it in a spot, and he was visibly angry when a defender got his hand on it and blocked it. It wasn't picked. It wasn't a difficult throw. It was just too much right in the lane. The guy got his paw up and got it. And Pat was pissed, and I don't blame him. That kind of stuff was not working last night for some reason. And it just depends. I think everybody was a little stressed out with the altitude. I personally hope the Chiefs never play in Mexico again. That's just me. The field I thought was dangerous. It started out fine. It looked pretty. But what you don't remember is that soccer fields are generally a softer grass, a softer turf. If you guys have ever been on the turf, taken a tour at Arrowhead or anything, or any stadium really in the NFL, it's a harder, compact surface underneath the grass. The grass is softer than the concrete underneath AstroTurf, but it's not soft. It's not a soccer field. And so I think that was part of the problem. But yeah, I don't think that was as safe. They're very lucky they didn't come out with any non-contact injuries. Ligaments, slippages, with just losing traction. So I'm going to take that as a big bonus. Kyle Robinson, what do you have to say to all the people casting so much shade on Clark and the Badger? Some of it was warranted. Hey, you can be frustrated. The amount of money they're making, you expect them to perform like this, not every week because that's impossible, but way more often than they have. I feel like this is the game where it's starting to come together, especially because this wasn't a laydown team. This was a division foe that's always played tight against the Chiefs, that beat them last year. So it's not that far a stretch. So I feel like this is a good step forward for this team and for those two guys in particular. I expect more after a little bit of rest. Thanks for the question, Kyle. Michael Uden, there you are. Please address the Mathieu missed interception and business decisions from last week. The business decisions I can't really get to because I don't know what was in his head. He's usually not a guy like that. I will say this. There are times when the rest of your unit is not playing well and you take a second, close your eyes and imagine them without you when you're the star. That wasn't just a business decision. That's an overall decision for how well you can maintain what you're trying to do. I think some of it was a Henry thing because he'll hurt you, but I don't think it was 100% of it. I'll give him credit for that. Young Adam, Odell Brewing is my favorite, bud. My beer of the night is a Scottish ale that I made here at home. It's about a Scottish 70, to tell you the truth. It's not super dark, and I wish I had gone heavier with it. But yes, Odell's 90 shilling is great, and Odell is literally my number one brewery in America. So good for you for bringing it up. Good hit. Nathan Roth, why was there no helmet-to-helmet or defenseless receiver penalty on that hit on McCoy? I don't remember helmet-to-helmet contact. And that's a good question on the defenseless. I didn't think that he was in that kind of position, but I'd have to go back and look at it, Nathan. I'm not 100%. I can't say that was the only thing that those refs missed either. Yevgeny, how are you? It seems obvious that the Chiefs can't run the ball in obvious running situations ever since they dropped Hunt. That's not true at all. Hunt has nothing to do with it. Hunt was not a guy that got you yards inside the tackles. He was a guy that once he broke through, he really was able to exploit it. I don't think it has anything to do with Hunt. I think it's more about the offensive line, quite frankly. The difference that Fisher made, and even helping Wiley, I think that really showed you that they're able to run better with him as a blocker. I think that's what it comes down to. And you're right. The part about the short yardage running, that's been difficult. And again, I think a big back like Darrell helps you in that situation, but you got to be able to do that more. And I thought Andy almost got too cute in that one. I think it was 3rd and 2, where he put McCole back there with him. And yes, it was distraction, but there are a lot of other things. I still feel like they don't pitch enough. They don't hit the corners. They don't run counters enough. And you can do that from single back. There's no reason not to. So I think they do have to get a little bit more diverse in the way that they run, especially on short yardage. But I don't think that that's Hunt. I think where Hunt excelled and was particularly good was after contact. But that's not that he can make holes. I think everybody romanticizes just how good he was carrying the ball inside back when he was on this roster. I, for one, don't miss him. I don't think not in the run game, I mean. In the pass game, he's an exceptional guy that I think what's really underrated about Kareem Hunt is that he is able to track the ball overhead way better than most running backs. And those are some of the biggest plays that he ever made for the Chiefs. But, too much is too much. I'm not looking backward. We're going to focus on going forward. Jamie Franklin, what kind of linebacker the Chiefs need to draft? They need a hybrid. They need a big guy, 6'2", 3. They need a 240, 45 pounder that can both play coverage and can defeat a guard. They need a Derek Johnson. That's what they need. It doesn't have to be a bruiser. That's what you have Reggie for. I think Reggie will be on the team again because in his limited role, stopping the run, defending the run, that's what he's doing well. And I'll have some graphics for you next week on some of the analytics about what happens when he's on the field and when Saunders is on the field and when Nadi and Saunders are on the field together and how much that helps. He doesn't have to be a 3-down backer. But I think that's what the Chiefs have to adapt for, is getting guys like Jalen and Van Der Esch in Dallas, getting guys not trying to do what Miles Jack and Jones in Atlanta, guys that are specific coverage backers. That's why they're in this situation. They've got guys that are better against the pass, and that's why they get beat up in the run game. So you got to find some well-rounded dudes, and they're out there. They're just not as easy to find as they used to be. Chris Pepler, why is Andy spending so much time with Pat Mahomes while the D's on the field? Because Andy doesn't have anything to do with the D. He doesn't call the defense. He doesn't analyze the defense. He is an offensive coach. His job is sitting with 15 and getting him corrected, especially on a night like last night when he wasn't really firing on his own. But yeah, that's normal. If he wasn't sitting next to him, he'd be looking at the Surface tablets with all the 22 shots so he could see the coverages and stuff. He's never in the headset. He's not calling it. Spags calls the defense. Sutton did before him. So don't let that bother you. That's totally normal. Kyle Robinson, draft linebacker. It's up there. It's in the top 3. Cornerback, number 1 cornerback is still my top priority for this team in the offseason, whether they win a Super Bowl or not. If they do, it'll be in spite of the corners. CJ Dow, would you cut or not resign next year? What positions do we need to address next year? Corner, interior, center guard, definitely in the center. I'm not happy with Ryder. I don't want to see him continue. I want Wiz in there at this point. Linebacker would be in there second or third. It's about who's available. I think if you want a guy like I was talking about, a hybrid linebacker, I think you have to go second priority in the second round somewhere. It's going to depend. But corner is still the most important. They're not getting destroyed right now, but everybody seems very happy with Ward, but they forget that he got beat up on the 2 biggest pass plays of the game. He's still improving, and I think he can be a number 2, but nothing has made me think that he can be a number 1 shutdown corner that takes away half the field. That's what they have to have in order to stop being in these 35 to 37 point games. They got to be able to slow it down. Oh, and Dan Sorensen would not be back in my plan. So good game last night, Dan. Nathan Roth, what are your thoughts on Phillip Rivers, his future with the Chargers? I don't think he'll ever play for anybody else. I don't know if he'll be back, though. He does look like he is not able to physically do what he's done in the past. So that might be the end of the story. Damian McKinnis, what's wrong with this team? They're not alpha enough. They're not angry enough. They don't go out to destroy people. They go out to win games. And if it's by 7 or 3, I don't think they care. They're not out to break people enough. And I think that they're just, even though Andy doesn't contribute to the defense, I think the defense is still too much finesse. Because that's what teams sense, and that's why they cram it down their throats. At least the smart ones do. Don't get me wrong. If the Chargers had run Melvin Gordon another 12 times, the Chiefs would have lost that game last night. They did just enough to get them out of their game plan. So good for them. But that's what I see is wrong with it. What do you think of the run stopping, Moore being 13? It was all right. I felt like they hit better last night. I felt like they were more physical in the run game, and that's what shut down or made the Chargers go away from it. But at the same time, they were physical 5 yards down the field on average because that's what Gordon was getting. So that's still a problem. It's not fixed by any means. But playing Saunders at least 40% of the snaps is about where it comes out, with Noddy a good bit of the time, having Mike Pennell, getting Reggie back out there for, I think he played 21 snaps last night. I can check that again. Those are the keys that let you do what you need to do. And as long as they keep that up, I mean, you're going to see what they did here, that they were able to control the game enough on defense so that they didn't get super down and get sideways in trying to keep up with somebody else scoring. I lied. Ragland played 17, Pennell 23, Saunders 24 snaps, and Noddy up at 32, which was 40%. Okay, so that's where it lies for me. My call, why are the Chiefs not having trouble on 3rd and short? Why isn't it Reed utilizing the best weapons in Kelsey, Watkins, Hardman, Hill in those plays? Because Hill and Kelsey are the focuses of the defenses. And quite frankly, I think he outthinks himself sometimes. You don't see Sammy run the slants very well, and that's probably his best route. Not that he doesn't run them, that he doesn't run them very often, and that's probably his best route. But I think, honestly, the Super Bowl with Russ Wilson back a couple of years ago has really gotten in the heads of a lot of coaches these days, where you don't see the slants on short yardage. You definitely don't see the sluggo combinations as much as you used to, which I think is a waste of some talent. Nathan Roth, whatever happened to Xavier Williams? Is he on IR? I do believe he is on IR. Yeah. I believe Pennell was signed in his place, I believe. I'd have to double check that. I'm honestly a little fuzzy on that. I was in the Caribbean at the time, man. I'm a little out. Chris Pepler, start Darryl or give sausage carries like Allstott? Yes and yes. I'll take both, thank you. And then hit him with play action and go deep. I am not against that at all. Hog Farmer, good question. How about this Pennell guy? Yeah, I told you guys, the biggest mistake they made against the Titans didn't even happen on the field. It's because they sat Pennell. The guy plays the run very well. His second career sack was last night. So he's not a big pass rusher, but he plays that run well, and you need guys like that. He's a role player, much like Reggie Ragland is, but their role is important. You got to let them play it, and you got to use it enough to get yourself where the run isn't crushing you. Who's next? Ray Booth, ready to admit that West is our best corner. West. I think you mean Ward, and he might be, but he's still not a number one corner in this league. Don't let the comparisons on one roster fool you. But yeah, I think you can argue that. Breland started out hot and has really fallen off. Fenton's coming on, and obviously we haven't seen Fuller in a while. So yeah, I can get with the argument that Ward's the best guy you got right now. So sure. He needs to be a number 2 at the very most. So let's see what happens. Who's next? And who was that one? Oh, that was Ray. Okay, good. Bill Winter, field conditions looked good until they started playing, or the players just being nice when questioned about it afterwards. Yeah, I think they got some directive about let's not run down the stadium. It reflects on the people that manage the stadium, and the league does want to expand. They want to foster more interest in Mexico, in the NFL in general. So they don't want to run it down. They want to stay as positive as they can. Let's see. Marty Noblock, is Spags sandbagging? They brought all these guys and have done stunts. They holding on until New England. I think there's a certain aspect to that as well, but I don't think it's as much as on offense. And they have run a lot of stunts. They are being active. They've gone away from the NASCAR thing. And I think, honestly, I think Spags is overthinking some things. I think he's making things more complex than they have to be sometimes. But he's mixing up well on the blitzes. He's running stunts, both interior stunts with the tackles and some inside-outside stuff with the ends and tackles. So I'm pretty happy with that part. CJ Dial, do you think that Phillip Rivers forces the ball cost the Chargers? Yep, definitely. And that's what he's been doing all season. Damian McKiss, are you worried about the Raiders? Not that much, I got to tell you. Again, if you can control Josh Jacobs, they're going to be in fine shape against the Raiders. I think the Raiders have been playing well. I don't think they can match up very well with what the Chiefs need to do. Let's see. Do you think the rumors are true about Antonio Brown potentially returning to the Patriots? No, I don't know where you heard that. I don't know why they'd ever bring him back. I don't think he ever plays another down in the NFL. There's no way. Mike Hall, what kept Mahomes in the offense looking so conservative? Honestly, it was the pressure, especially when you saw those times where Bosa and Ingram lined up on the same side. That's really tough for this team to block. So I think they're just trying to get the ball out. They weren't looking to go downtown as much. They definitely took their shot plays, but it wasn't as much of the constant 5-yard dropbacks. They're trying to get the ball out of his hands a little bit. And I swear that one high step that Mahomes took on one of those runs, it looked like maybe something was bothering him a little bit. I know he said he was fine, but it didn't look 100% to me. So, Ray Booth, okay, I got you. CJ, Gerald Colvin, in your opinion, why is the run game so lackluster? It's because of the blocking. Really, LDT's pretty strong. Wiley's pretty strong. But nobody's like a road grader. These guys are built to be athletes. They're built to pass block. This is a zone finesse offensive line. That's really what it is. If they get into where they have to run for short yardage, they're going to have to use the fullback. They're going to have to bring in another lineman, and even then, they're going to allow penetration. They're just not built that stoutly, and that's so that they can stay nimble, so the screen game works, and so they can get out and get downfield and block. It is by design. It's not an accident. Chris Pepler, why does PM look so overamped in these prime time games? Because he's 24 years old, man. And because in his first season, he was the best player in the NFL. I mean, we got to remember, he acts like an 8-year veteran, but he isn't. He's still a 24-year-old kid. I think that's going to dramatically change. They talked about pregame with Louis Riddick, with a number of other analysts, about just how far he's come in his demeanor of leadership and preparation in that single year. I think he's got 2 or 3 more years that he can still continue to develop as a professional, not just as an athlete. And man, look where he is now. It's only going to get that much better. Joseph Trova, you and Chris talked on the podcast, and both thought the score would be higher. So were the Chargers playing better than you thought, or did we not play as well? A little bit of both. The Chiefs' offense did not play as well. And honestly, I think a lot of it was the field conditions, because I expected the Chargers to run more and to score more on play action. So I think a lot of it, both teams kind of like took a step back. And I want to say part of that was the field, and part of it was the defense. Is just the Chiefs' defense really stepped up and came to play, and the Chargers' defense has been great all year. So they just had a little bit better tack on Mahomes than I thought they would. Big Duke, think the trash field had anything to do with Tyreek's injury? Not necessarily. I didn't see him slip on that route or the route that he ran before, but there could have been something on a run play or something that maybe the footing was bad and I just didn't see it because of the broadcast. So never know. Hog Farmer, do you believe in Bigfoot? I'm glad that you ask, and no, I don't. I believe in guys in big hairy suits, but that's about it. Film Gluttony, what's up, buddy? Thanks for the donation. I appreciate it. At the end of the game, it looked like last week. Were you as nervous as me as the Chiefs gave the ball back with 2 minutes? Absolutely. Absolutely. And that was, again, I think it was that third down play where the ball got tipped. It was a solid play. It just didn't work out. But yeah, that's the thing is that you got to be able, again, you got to be able to run the ball and maintain and eat that clock. And they just get themselves in situations. Half the time it's play calling, and then when the play calls are decent, they're not getting the execution. So it's definitely an Achilles heel for this team. They got to get it figured out. And luckily, I think the regular season allows them to figure that out, but they got to have it ready before January. Kyle K, thanks for your donation. Given we are in week 11, how much do you love our moves this offseason? Seems like almost every signing and pick was a hit, including our rookie corner. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have seen Frank do this, 6 weeks ago, but I can understand with the injury, especially to a nerve, that's hard to do. I would have liked to see more production from Mathieu, but that I think is more to do with the coverages and being in the first-year defense and still trying to figure all that out. As we told you before the season, the big thing for Spags is usually year 2, so think about that. And yeah, I think the rookie class has really shown itself to be some solid picks. We'll see if they work out. I'm really happy with Saunders. And I got a treat for you. I'm going to show you something that nobody really talked about. They had him at defensive end a couple of times last night too. And that's where I really think he will shine in speed rushing, whether in the B gap as a tackle or the C gap as an end. There's a lot more potential than Colin Saunders. Ryan saying, I'm a bit behind you, but you may have covered this, but I think the people are turning the Mathieu drop into a molehill. Yeah, I mean, I'm not terribly concerned. I would have loved to see him do it, and I wish he had. It would be a little more professional to be able to pull that off every single time, but, things happen. I'm not going to make a huge deal out of it. Nathan Roth, what is the media trying to compare to Lamar Jackson? All GMs in the world would rather have Mahomes. Probably. They've had to really construct that offense around Lamar, but he is doing great. It's just the media doing its thing. I mean, the fact that Mahomes is still statistically ahead of every quarterback in the league in, I think, 3 categories, and he's barely behind in several others, and he's missed 3 games. And I think that tells you everything you need to know. It's about winning at this point. Lola, can you address Frank Clark's pinched nerve and how long it takes to heal? It takes years to heal sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't heal ever. But it sounds like he's been able to work through it. And the problem is, especially in football, when you have a pinched nerve in your neck specifically, every play that you take, there's a chance to re-injure it. And nerves are kind of like they're a little bit elastic, but if they're hurt and you pull on them, you stretch them out, you get crooked or something like that, it does have a tendency to re-damage it. It is tougher to heal from that. So it's a process. What do you think the chances are we end up getting a first-round bye? I think that's over with. It's still a possibility, but you need to not only handle your own business, you got to get somebody to beat the Ravens twice. You got to get 2 or 3 teams to beat the Ravens in order to get a bye. So I don't know that that's going to happen. It is what it is. Let's see, Billy Carr, what should we do to help with the 4-minute offense? Quite frankly, I think you have to not think about it as much. I think you have to be more aggressive. Whatever's working, whether it's screens, whether it's slants, whether it's seams with the tight ends, whether it's the run game, whatever's working, you need to hammer it until they stop it, and then you do the opposite. Last night, I would have hit off tackle and sweeps pitches with the run game until they got their butts out there, and then I would have hit them over the top. That's what I think they have to do. Let's see. Dudrick Smith, are Claiborne and Breland sharing snaps? It seems like it. There were times they were on the field together, but they certainly are not playing as 1 and 2. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Chad Chapman, should we draft a left tackle? It's coming. I don't think you can afford to do it early and not get some of the defensive needs that you need. But definitely a depth guy, a day 3 guy, early, like 4th, 5th round. I could see that easily. Low Lip, would you be against taking a big-time running back like ATN or Swift or Taylor in the 20? Taking them, no. Taking them in the first 100 picks, yes. I don't think you need to spend a top 100 pick on a running back in this situation. You got Darwin, you got Darrell under contract. The only one who's not under contract is LaShawn. And you can find running backs to run in his own offense all up and down the draft. You need to cover the defense's holes first. Metal Rocker X, hey, what's up, buddy? How impressed were you that the front 7 got to Rivers as much as they did? I was. I mean, they were missing 2 tackles, and honestly, Feeney's having a terrible year. So, I mean, if they didn't, I'd have been more pissed off than excited that they did. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. Do you think Pennell will continue to get more snaps? Nathan, I certainly hope so. He should. Whether he does or not, I don't know. Stuff comes out of the blue like against the Titans. Casino Breakfast, what are you seeing on the film that gives you optimism about the team? I see poor run D, spotty secondary, and offense sputtering. I see a defense that can stop the run when they play in the base and they play Saunders and Noddy together, and Reggie Ragland's on the field. The problem is that the coaching staff doesn't do that enough. I feel confident they can stop the run doing that. Whether that opens that up for attack in the air, it's certain it does, but right now they're playing pretty good pass defense. They're giving up yards. They're giving up completions that I don't want to see. There's a lot of lost opportunity for breakups, for denying passes that they're not getting done, but they're not giving up 400 yards in the air either. So I think it sets them up okay. Let's see. Oh, Lolip. Okay, I figured out what you meant. Chad Chapman, what happened to Byron Pringle? He's getting reps. He's just not getting targets. I'm not sure what's going on. Nathan, do you think Veach trades up again in the draft this year? I don't know. Maybe there's somebody he really likes, but the corner group's pretty good. And I think there's going to be somebody there in the 28 to 32 range, which is where I expect the Chiefs to pick. Brave Macaroon, thoughts on Charvarius Ward's performance? I went into that. I feel like he's still improving. He's better than he was at the beginning of the year. I just don't think he's a number 1 corner yet. And he's under contract in 2020. For those of you asking about him as a long-term fix, it's not even really a fix because he's under contract. They don't have to give him an extension. He's signed for 2020. After that, he'll be a restricted free agent. So you got him as long as you want him. Ryan Clark thoughts. I didn't hear anything Ryan Clark said, so sorry about that. Let's see. Denny, yep, Pennell is the run stopper. I'm glad he's here. They need him. Finn, you're going to be all right, buddy. Yevgeny, why do you think that the receivers are not picking up the slack once Tyreek comes off? I don't know. It's a sense of urgency. It's a sense of aggression. Again, I feel like this team is just a little bit too finesse. They have it in them to be more aggressive, and I think that's what they have to do. Low Lip, chances of signing Chris Harrison free agency. I love the concept. I don't think he's going to do it. I think he is actually a free agent. I just don't see it happening. Scott Meza, yes, Hill can be back by the Patriots. Ryan Stang, thanks for your donation. I'm going to wrap it up here, folks. We're just about done. I'm going to hit Ryan's question in a couple more, and then we're out. Hypothetical. Come draft and free agency. What position do you need to get? But can't be a CB1 because you think Ward ain't there yet. Great show. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Can't be a CB1 because you think I'm wrong and Ward is going to be a CB1, huh? Okay. The linebacker class is okay. The wide receiver class is good. You're going to have to replace Sammy. I don't think he's going to be back at this point. Tackle class is okay. The interior class is okay. It's going to come down to linebacker or wideout in terms of value with their first round pick. But that's a good hypothetical, Ryan. It's going to be CB1 if it's me. Okay. Irving at center an option. No, he's only a guard. They keep trying to squeeze him in at tackle, and he's a guard. And you have Wisniewski right now who can play center better than Ryder can. So I think that's what's going to go on. Info apocalypse. Scott Meza, do you see a late bye week help both sides of the Chiefs and the Patriots coming up? I think it does. I think it helps the Chiefs a little bit more. I think they're a little more banged up right now, so I think it will have a better effect. Let's see, Nathan Roth, how many Patriots get such an easy schedule because the league loves them? I have no idea, man. It might be a conspiracy. I don't know. Scott Mays, I think Ryder's playing time should go down and Wiz should take that job. Nathan Roth, injuries piling up at running back. Do you give Saunders a chance to line up at running back? I'd love it, but no. If anything, they'll go to Sherm. And I hope that they do. Hog Farmer, why doesn't Andy put no huddle offense? Because most of his offense is pretty quick paced, and he can if he wants. He just doesn't choose to do that. Mike Hall, thanks for your donation. Will Andy acquire a power offensive lineman? No, Andy doesn't want to run power. He wants athletic linemen that, if he has to, can get to pull and run power plays, but aren't like power road grader run type guys. That's not what he's looking for. Okay. Scott, Chris Pepler, Scott Meza, Nathan. Okay, I've answered a ton of questions from you guys tonight. Let me see if there's anybody else out here who hasn't gotten a question asked. Okay, these are the last two. Southern Bell, do you think Rivers is done? I think he's close. I think he might try to do it one more year, and I think it's going to be a pretty rough season if he does. And last question, Maximo 101, is Fuller losing his starting job to Fenton? I don't know. Fenton's been pretty productive. It may be a fight, but that's another big contract that's coming up that I don't think Fuller is going to get extended or re-signed. So prepare as you like or as you see fit. And I'm going to call it right there, folks. I know it's a little bit abrupt tonight, 45 minutes, still more than I meant to do. I got a little time with the wife tonight, and quite frankly, I haven't seen the film yet, so I want to take a little bit more time. I have stuff coming up for you, a film room video. We'll do another live next Monday, like normal every time, and I have a couple of special things coming in video form as well. So thanks for all of your time. Thanks for hanging out. Check out the podcast. We got some great guests coming this week, too. We're still going to be doing our thing, even though it's a bye week, so I hope you guys enjoy the time off. I'll check you out next time.